Alex Answer here, coming to you from Southwest Colorado, getting ready for a full work week ahead. So I'm going to talk about a number of different updates. But the first thing that I want to mention, again, feel free to recommend, if you honestly have faith in it, an alternative to YouTube. But I've been discussing for some time that I don't think that there are very good quality alternatives to YouTube. One of the things that makes a website a quality website is the idea of getting traffic to your channel. And we want to use our channels to, of course, promote a product or send them to a website. I don't necessarily have a product, although I have a on-demand channel, but the idea is to use YouTube as a tool. So you're selling an idea, you're sharing information, you're promoting your business, you're promoting your town, you're promoting your truth. All right. So YouTube is a means to an end. It's not the end of the ride. So we may hit speed bumps in the road of life when we put our eggs in one basket, like YouTube, and it being like a larger percentage of our personal income. Well, when we lose all of our income or our monetization, in some cases that can be a pretty big chunk or percentage. The good news is there's at least some support on Patreon, but I want to leave the forum open to dialogue about alternatives to YouTube. But I honestly think that this is a sign of systematic censorship that will cross-jump the platforms, if you will, and pull out some sort of a digital weapon, digital blackjack to smack the content creator upside their head where they think they're safe on their private platforms. And see, a lot of these corporate, private alternatives to YouTube are still controlled by the same people. So let's talk about that, because this has actually been an ongoing conversation for some time. You can actually, I'm going to create a new playlist. Check out the current one that I have on the front page, focusing on a lot of the spiritual truths that I've been sharing with you. Some people might call it an opinion, but it's been my truth. And there's the cream of the crop of the last 3 years from Alex Answer without all the politics. Visit my YouTube channel now. Take a look at the stuff that I'm featuring for the last 3 years. Took me a few hours to put all that together. And so that's where the focus should be. As I discussed, breathing in the truth and releasing the elements of the deception, the programming, the lie. Self-healing. Deprogramming from the Matrix 101. Because ultimately you have to be in control of that. You can go to other people and other channels and even give people money to do clearings for you, even people that may provide some counseling from the world of psychology. But ultimately, we're not going to get healthier by seeking health and wellness and advice from elements of that society that made us sick to begin with. You see, there is wisdom in going within. We're going to be mocked for going within. We're going to be called followers of the occult for believing that there is knowledge within. Right? Do not give time to those demonic voices in our matrix that want to lead us back into the authoritative church, Orthodox church understanding of reality. Okay, because there's more than that. There's far more than that. I don't think that I'm going to be traveling into the next town over and then staying. Upon doing the research, they have there's some major signs of trouble economically coming for a lot of us, with the vast amount of homeless that are sleeping illegally now in their own vehicles because they continue to criminalize the homeless. And some towns have more of a habit of ticketing people and mandating that homeless have to appear in court because of some sort of offense, the criminal offense of being homeless. So, even though I like a good fight here and there, I don't think I'm up for a fight like that. And I drove into one of the closer towns for food yesterday, and I think I'm going to go ahead and risk it. So I'm working on getting a spare. For those that don't know, I have a tire ride issue in my car, but it was stable enough that I'm going to risk these longer 80-mile one-way expeditions to the next town over. And I'm hoping to get through the week ahead and get through all my shifts. So I wanted to bring up, again, the idea of I'm open to a YouTube alternative, but there are very few. I believe that, and this goes against the grain, a lot of these other options, and this includes DTube, they more so benefit the people that own the website more so than the content creator or user. At least YouTube set up a system, YouTube/Google, for something substantial to come back to the content creator if they get enough views. I think that the other so-called alternatives have failed to provide. They failed to provide the numbers for whatever reason. For whatever reason, whoever is to, whether I'm using the right terminology or not, blame. Right? There may not necessarily be anyone to blame. It just may be the reality that YouTube is the biggest nightclub in town. Or I guess I can use other language, porno store, gun shop. Anyways, you know, it's the biggest crack house in town, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest crack house on the internet is YouTube. So we don't want to go losing our channels after losing our monetization. We want to get our monetization back or let our channels continue to be a platform where the truth can be broadcast. But there's going to become a time where even people with normal, safe content may lose their channels as a result of a cyber attack. And you can find me talking about that going back years. So if anything, the challenges that I'm facing now is kind of forcing me to consolidate some of that content, highlight the stuff that's most important, back up all my stuff, which is basically almost done, and go from there. You know, better to lose one's monetization than lose one's channel. Better to see the writing on the wall. Better to go through something like this during the summer months than the winter months. Better to look on the bright side of life. So I slept in the RV last night, cuddled with one of the kittens, fed it some food, some discounted chicken that I brought home. Also have some cheap sausage links that I have here. I figured I would get that for them instead of cat food. It's interesting because they don't quite act like pets. They act like predators that aren't able to eat me, but instead are able to get some food from me. But they're very uncomfortable being pet by the actual human that's feeding them. But of course, these are wild animals that aren't spayed, that have lived their whole life out here. As for the kittens, they've lived their whole life in the RV. So the cat was a lot more relaxed being pet in the RV than being pet in the tiny home, which the cats interpret to be some sort of weird environment that they don't want any part of. RV is different. They're cool with the RV. Tiny house, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Call an ex? No. We cats are good at exorcisms. Whatever Alex Hanser's got going on in that tiny home, fuck that shit. We're staying over by the RV. So just thought I would let you know, right? And so I've been kind of taking a cue off that, going, yeah, I'm gonna sleep in my RV, get a little closer to the earth, get away from the loft. Special thanks to David that joined on Patreon. I'm not complaining, I'm just informing the audience because I think you need post reports. There is some support. I appreciate those on PayPal, but we really want to grow the on-demand channel when you find yourself in a situation economically that will enable you to support what I do on demand. Please consider outsidethebox.vhx.tv. There hasn't been any of you that have signed up since the announcement that my YouTube platform has been demonetized. And that's totally cool. I'm calm. I think, though, it's wise to at least inform you that as much as I've been promoting this, and as many of you that are out there that support my work, I just want to give you an after report that we're not seeing any growth on the platform that I'm trying to build outside of YouTube. And I think that what we've seen with the YouTube demonetization is a big sign that even the channel could be at risk. So for those of you that really, really value this content, consider the necessity, consider the urgency in the sound of my voice. And we'll just leave it at that. We'll move on now, folks, because see, Patreon is not stable long term. But long term, folks, we're dealing with crisis from issues with the crops not getting enough sun, the conflicts that may come about from that's connected with, and other things that are taking place in our world. In the end, is this platform even going to be there for us? With the trade war that we're looking at between China and Trump, the United States, major costs are going to be coming to social media websites, backbone infrastructure, things of that nature. The United States could be cut off from not only just oil, but from the free flow of communication. Communications technology, a real info war. A real info war of the likes that we're not ready for. We want to go beyond the mindset of conflict itself. And by the way, war is a flag word. YouTube, you got to stop that stuff, especially for those of us that are against war, because you're starting to come across as a system that promotes artificial intelligence that is akin to something out of the Terminator. And it's not all evil, and it's not all something out of a Schwarzenegger film, but I think that there needs to be more on the part of YouTube showing that they're trying to improve their AI system to where those of us that are exposing extremism aren't also put in the category of extremist. Because right now, YouTube, you are looking like the extremist. Alex Ansary. Covertly actually promoting the Alex Joneses of the world. Okay, and in the end, there's a lot of racial tensions, a lot of people concerned about a lot of things, and it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. But my lifetime on this platform, oh, I've seen a lot of dirt. I've seen the worst promoted. I've seen what the algorithm does. So even after demonetization, yeah, I love watching various channels out there. The channel called the Spark, it's one of the few channels from a YouTuber that I'm watching at this time, because a lot of people I'm just tuning out and just not watching. Even if I don't like them and I have a habit of analyzing their propaganda, you know, like Mr. AJ. No. I don't have time for that. I have to be working on building the new, you know, how is Alex Ansary going to express his life and what he created post 40 years old? I'm 38 right now, right? Even though I may look to some like I'm in my 20s. The age does catch up with one. And the greater reality that we need to be in the moment. Sometimes crises may come. I also have a link to Reprogram the Matrix in his most recent video. I don't believe I've ever spoken with him. And I don't think he watches the channel, but there's parallels in a great deal, in fact, of the things that we're discussing. Just like with some of the other people that I'm referencing here and there. There's like parallels in our collective understanding and awareness because it's growing. We're seeing through these tears in the veil. Sometimes I wonder if these holes in our Earth's magnetic field is connected to like the idea of seeing through the veil and perceiving things throughout the veil. But he was talking about change coming that'll move some stuff around that we won't even understand to make way for something new. And it is true that I have been going through a lot of personal stress. Ironically, banged my head to the point of near concussion accidentally when I was hiking. Getting something out of my car, banged it on the roof. Then there was also a lot of extreme stress that I was dealing with. Ironically, the day that InfoWars was going down and my channel was demonetized. Kind of interesting that they attacked me the day that Alex started having issues with InfoWars, and it's not a site that I'm a fan of, and I've spoken against the things that he's put out, and I found it ironic that I would have my issue not a week before, not a week after, the day of InfoWars getting major cyber attacks. Seems like we're being lumped into one category. And I think there's a level of black ops that's propping up AJ while looking to knock out, whether you would call it competition or just alternative voices sharing the real truth. Because I think that's a spin you're not going to hear from the mainstream media. That they're actually promoting Alex Jones and yet at the same time using Alex Jones to take out the competition. And I think that, let's bring this to center, something moving forward. Going back 2013, I was doing a video on what we can do for ourselves in the alternative media to move things forward. And I've met a number of different people in the alternative media. Two I would consider wealthy or millionaire plus individuals. One I ran a website for, never met him, but was an associate. I was always hoping I can call him a friend, but never really had a real conversation with the guy. Now he's deep into the Bitcoin mania. So he was always like a cyborg in his relations with me. Another individual was a guy in Texas. He had multiple millions of dollars, and he had dollar signs in his eyes. He found me during a time in which I was hurting economically in Portland, and he wanted me to host the Underground News Network in Dallas, Texas. I didn't realize that his whole financial plan was reliant on what I would consider to be a very unprofessionally put together multi-level marketing plan. And actually, if I stayed with him and he launched that, my reputation could have been tarnished early on. And so I use those two examples to say that I've met two different individuals that ultimately care nothing about you, me, or the truth. But in fact, have had their own agenda and their own wealth in their own interests. Some people have been successful generating a lot of wealth for themselves. Some people not so successful. But ultimately, some of these individuals are motivated by the same thing. And in some cases, there could be shady connections. Things we can't plan, things that we can't prove, rather. But things that we speculate about. certain individuals, why they have such a pro-Russia narrative, why it was so ongoing for over 10 years, so anti-US, so pro-Russia, since their very first day on YouTube. And so it's possible that some of the leading alternative media personalities have been agent provocateurs from day one. And that's why they were promoted by Google YouTube. And Google YouTube seems to have a coordinated effort with some of these individuals to cover their tracks and make it look like they're firing back against conservatives or the far right, when they've done everything to promote those individuals and particular narratives. So reality is not as it seems. We have always had the ability to organize as an independent, truth-based research community that crosses the thresholds or boxes of stereotypes. We've always had that ability. And I will always be known as a cheerleader for the alternative media before some people even started their very first channels and uploaded their very first videos. People like me could be found in 2013 saying, when is the real alternative media going to come together? Now, from a management, money-making perspective, I'm not a genius on this, and I don't have experience on a deeper level, but I believe I have some common sense pieces of advice to just pretty much throw at the wall. Organization is key. If anyone ever did have money to invest in an alternative media network, good management could bring money to it. A lot of people, it's kind of like advertising. A lot of people that are obsessed with having power and authority, that go to the world of radio and TV, sometimes dominate how their product is going to be pitched or branded. And in some cases, they need to step aside and let the people that know what they're doing address those things, address marketing, address programming. That's why you have owners, you have shareholders, but then you have the people that are actually hired to actually do the real work. So there is a real lack of professionalism. So we don't even have like a professional alternative media industry to even make comparisons. You have independent, supposed self-made men running around. In a lot of cases, they're not really self-made men. But in some cases, you do have self-made men. I may not agree with Molyneux or people like that, but I believe he's a self-made man. People like that purport to Gavin, individuals like that, I still think they're a part of a secret society, part of the government. But other individuals like Molyneux and others, they seem more grassroots. So but we're just divided over issues and how we're perceiving this reality, how we're perceiving the real rulers of the world, who controls immigration, who doesn't control immigration, why we're at war, why we're not at war. We're not in agreement over any of these issues, apparently, between myself and the main voices of the alternative media. They're almost seemingly rewriting history too. So, if there was more of a unified message of individuals that had the ultimate treasure in the palm of their hand, which is creating their own content, well-spoken individuals, men and women that were creating alternative media content, right? With as much passion, almost in some cases, that some people have to create pornography. Like, just imagine if we had like 1/100th of the passion that men and women put into pornography, either consuming or creating. And what if that was transferred and there was this other type of passion that was like as lustful as the passion for creating and consuming that other content? What if there was like extreme truth? You know, and instead of it being like a gangbang, it's like a bunch of people that are screaming their truth in like one big, like, you know, beer hall. Bunch of men and women, they're like shouting at the camera, like, you know, finishing each other's sentences, like being pure independent voices. No one identifying with pure Democrat or Republicanism. Everyone identifying with the human message. Discussing protecting your mind against outside intrusion. Cheering your glass as you cheer on the human spirit. Talking about reality as it is. Going beyond the race war, civil war dichotomy. Can you show me a single video of anyone doing that anywhere at all, period, right now? And I believe the ultimate answer is no. The issue is not them. The issue is not the government. The issue is not the aliens. The issue is us. We need to wake up. We need to be willing. And we need to be willing to wait a lifetime for our true peers to arrive. I've been waiting a lifetime. I've been waiting a lifetime to walk into a studio and it's like, it's not that we agree with everything, it's that we're on the same side. We're not divided. And Portland Cable Access, there was still division because it was everybody's little show. But it's like, it's possible It's possible for us to survive. It's possible for us to live outside the system. It's possible for us to have our own networks. It's possible for us to grow our own food. It's possible for us to have our own currency. It's possible for us to have our own YouTube. And the fact of the matter is, we don't and they do. Even the far extreme right is more united than us so-called independent thinkers. They will have their own tube. They already have CRTV, but they're going to have some more extreme stuff because what they're doing is not quote-unquote illegal. They're just being kicked off private platforms, but they're being promoted at the same time. So there's going to be an extreme tube. You know what I mean? Just like they have all the other extreme tubes. You want to talk about fear porn, violent porn, disinformation porn? Get ready. Get ready. Because it's being created. In a couple of years, we're going to see new forms of tubes where it's all extreme content all the time because they were able to get along and their views coming together, whether they're coming together against Islam or coming together on that common theme. Yes, the millions of angry men are united over the issues that they feel matter to them, even if things are manipulated for them to point their finger at an external group while ignoring their internal group and listening to disinformation artists out there telling them that the Muslims are now in control of the United States. The Muslims are now in control of YouTube. The Muslims are now in control of whoever's coming on the political scene in 2020 or after the midterm elections. And there's going to be a lot of this after the elections. A lot of accusations. Yes, the Democrats and the Muslims. It's time to fire back. And you're going to see people unified on the new extreme tubes, the new Jones tubes, the new Gavin tubes, the new CRTV tubes. But what about those of us that are out to the left-right paradigm? Is there one example of a tube that represents us? And the answer at the end of the day is no. Even Gaia TV is dirty. And the distorted information and the types of hosts and content that's featured on that program, including what's called quote-unquote Holocaust denialism, is right there embedded in a supposed spiritual. It's supposedly spiritual till you open up and see what's in the box. And I'm telling you, folks, there is so much Hitlerian programming now that's embedded within mainstream spirituality. Some of you haven't seen it, but because I never saw that type of programming before 2013 and 2012, when there was a coordinated social media program to point people in the direction of questioning the official story of Hitler or where he went or what's up with him or if it's worth recycling some of those ideas, a lot of this is post-2012. So how do we know something didn't happen during 2012 when since 2012 we've seen a rise of Hitlerian popularity? Now, when you have something that is designed to poison a society's mind, it may not be the end of the world, but it may be a deliberate attempt to end their society, to end their morality, to end that nation's popularity, in a grander cycle of the end of civilization, as one nation is ready to feed upon the resources that are growing in another population. While the United States has had a number of years to do this to others, the stage is being set for it to be done to us. The question is, what is a safe platform for the true individual to discuss the left-right paradigm? It's not going to be on CRTV. It's not going to be on Vimeo. It's not here on YouTube. It's not really best suited for Live Leak either, with all the other crap, sexual and violent, on Live Leak. With like its angry, red, mind control background. No, give me something substantial. Meat and potatoes. Something other than a crypto D-tube. Can you recommend? Oh, no. We're not just talking about what people think. We're talking about what reality is. All these major corporate platforms are controlled by the same people. And they sent a message when Vimeo took down AJ. Even if we don't like AJ, they sent a message. And they get together in one day, have a meeting, and literally flip a switch and use their AI to literally do a purge of contrarian content. So the question is, do we even have an alternative to YouTube, or is YouTube the end of the line before the big event? And let's take this moment for a meditative pause on this thought.